What's up, gentlemen? This is Rising Phoenix Podcast, a podcast about how to rise up after your divorce. I'm your host, divorce coach Michael Rhodes. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 165. I am having significant trouble getting through this fucking episode. It is late on Monday evening. Most of the solo ones were recorded late on Monday evenings, and I'm usually fucking tired, and that's not a reflection of like my mental state. It's just I got a lot going on, so I'm trying to get through it. This is probably the, I don't know, 15th fucking time I've started one, so hopefully this is the last one. I did want to do a little reflecting on 165 episodes, because in a few days it will be the 4th birthday or anniversary of this podcast, and I didn't set out to do 165 episodes or 1,000 episodes. I just wanted to make good content that helped people in a way that I needed to be helped. And in some ways that I was, but by certain people, but close friends and family and stuff. But I didn't see this podcast or anything like it out there. And I still kind of don't. There's some, but there's nothing like this one. And I love doing it, and I'm very thankful to all of you, because if nobody listened, there's no fucking way I'd make it to 165. So all comments and likes and subscribes and all that shit, it really does mean a lot. It keeps me going. If I didn't have that, if I'm being honest, if I didn't have that feedback, I mean, I'd be in bed right now, going to fucking sleep. So thank you so very much for listening and for being a part of my tribe. I set out to build something, and I've done that. And sometimes I feel like I'm just getting started, because there's so many things that I need to get better at, and need to improve, and things to change and do different. And I feel like there's so much more to be done. But none of that will be possible if it wasn't for all of you that listen. Sincerely, thank you very much for it. Let's cover some stats. And I'll cover just very briefly. Since the inception of this thing, it's been listened to in 128 different countries. Wrap your fucking head around that. I'm not sure I could name more than like 20 countries, if I'm being honest. I mean, maybe I could. Fuck, I don't know. That's a lot of fucking countries. I just had one the other day, listen out of Africa. I can't even remember the name of the fucking country. That's just 128 different countries. Fucking A. And 5,326 cities across the world. That's yeah. The recent new listens are, the first one is Surrey, British Columbia. Shout out to you. In Canada, episode 162. Mexico City, shout out to you, episode 160. Eureka, Montana. I want to go there just to say I've been there. Thank you. You listened to 160 as well. And last but not least, Wax Hall, North Carolina. No fucking idea where that is. I mean, I know where North Carolina is, but I've been to Charlotte many, many, many times, but I have no idea where that is. You listened to episode 162. I always find it cool when people listen to episodes that aren't the newest episode, because that means that they found the podcast somehow and then sought out an episode that was most relevant to them. And so I just think that's cool. And I hope that those of you from those locations, that you enjoyed or found help and comfort or guidance or whatever you needed in those episodes. That's what I'm trying to do. So I want to do a quick apology to the fan mail, the guy who wrote the fan mail a couple weeks ago. He reached out and we had a good conversation, and he actually ended up joining our Discord server. So shout out to him. Apologies for sort of brushing off your comment. I didn't really understand what you were saying, and I'm glad you reached out, and I'm glad we connected. And I thank you for joining us in the Discord server. Don't forget to attend the meetings. I don't know if we'll probably have book club, even though it's Thanksgiving. If folks can make it, we'll probably have it. I will be having a Zoom meeting on Thanksgiving morning. I don't get my kids until noon. So probably between 10 and 11 a.m. on Thanksgiving. If you're in the Discord server or if you're in the Divorce Support for Men group on Facebook, you will get a link. So please join me if you're going to be alone on Thanksgiving. We do it. We try to do it every year, and it's always nice to sort of um, get together with folks that are dealing with the same shit that you are. So please join us. If you need that link, if you're not in any of those things, whether it be Discord or the Facebook group, just send me a message on however you can message me. You want to send me an email, that's fine too. I do have a new email address set up. It's michael@risingphoenixpodcast.com. We'll be working on an email sort of list or whatever, just to hopefully reach people a little easier when I do things like Zoom chats. I've been sort of putting it off for years now, and I think it's time. So, okay, I think that covers all the sort of reminiscing, nostalgia, and sort of the housekeeping type stuff. So, I wanted to talk about how I navigated the rejection and the end of a situation, the one that I talked about a few weeks ago. And I'd like to say that I know exactly what I'm going to say, and I did write an outline, but I don't know how well I'll follow it. But I guess the first thing that I'll sort of address is like how hurt I was. I was very hurt by the rejection, and I was trying to figure that out. Like, why was I so why was that so hurtful? Why did it bother me so much? And there's a couple things. One is I'll give a little bit of background about her. And she actually did listen to the episode and did reach out. I'm sad to say that I didn't read what she sent. I just deleted it because I was not in the headspace to sort of process that. Like I was still trying to deal with my own feelings about what had occurred, and I couldn't, unfortunately, at that point, deal with her input. I don't think it was negative. Maybe it was. I don't know. But I met her because we both went to the same life coaching school. And when I say met her, I never met her in person. And like I had said before, we talked a good bit over the last 4 years. Now, not maybe a good bit's not the right word, but we would talk occasionally. Usually it was me reaching out, asking her like female questions, like, hey, in fact, the last time I talked to her before it sort of sparked was I was asking her how do I reject someone? Because I went on two dates, and I was like, I wasn't feeling it, and I was like, I don't want to ghost people because that's just shitty. And so that's how we sort of started talking again. And so I knew her as a person, and I had told her this many times. And by the way, this is my personal shit. This may not interest you. I have no idea, but I think there's some nuggets in here that are going to be good. So just bear with me. I had told her that like I was looking for her, like because to me she was very. I mean, obviously I covered beautiful. We've established that, but she was smart, and she was, she was in life coaching school, so she was aware of traumas and attachment styles, and I mean, she went through the same classes I did, and I felt like I learned a ton, and I felt like if I could find someone, obviously as beautiful as her, but I'm going to talk about that too. I want to take a fucking note. I want to talk about my sort of conundrum around beauty and stuff. I thought she was, when you go through this, and like I said, it's going to be, there's a lot to talk about here. When you go through this process, especially early on, I know I was very bitter about women in general. But then I met her, and I want to make sure I don't say her name, so I'm going to call her Dallas because that's why. When I met Dallas, I thought she was a good one, and I still think that. I want to make that clear. And so I kind of, and I told her that. It's like, I'm looking for you. If only you were closer. But I never knew that moving was an option for her. I never knew that that was on the table. And once I found out it was, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot my shot. And I did, and we connected, and this is why it hurt so much. And this is a nugget I think you want to write this one down maybe, or at least remember this. When there's a couple things that are I think probably uniquely human, and that is our sort of our penchant or our bias towards negativity, because that served us well a long time ago, right? If we were on the lookout for the negative, we were more than likely able to survive. And also, if we were part of a tribe, if we were accepted and connected to other people, we were more likely to survive. So obviously our tribes are smaller and different now. They're more centered around family, marriage, and stuff. And so when we connect with someone and they reject us, it fucking hurts. It harkens our brains back to that time where if we were kicked out of our tribe way back when, we're probably gonna fucking die. Like we weren't gonna survive. So that's why it hurts so bad, because I haven't connected with anyone. I know this is probably, it might sound, I don't know if she's gonna. I said I said she wasn't gonna listen last time, and I have no idea if she'll listen to this one. I hope so in some ways. Um, but I haven't felt connected to anyone like I did her since my marriage ended. And that may sound silly because I never even met her in person, but it was chemistry to me. And maybe I'm delusional, maybe she doesn't think so, but I think she does, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Um, so that's why it hurt. It hurt because I was connected, and it how do you not get hurt when you are rejected by someone that you connect with? And then obviously I had some anger and some bitterness clearly, but not too bad. Like I'm fairly proud of myself. I think I was a bit over the top on a couple episodes ago, but I honestly wasn't 100% sure she was going to listen. So I kind of felt free to be like, fuck it. This is my pain, and here it is. I was living in my wounds, and this is something that she actually kind of taught me. Um, in other words, what does that mean? In other words, when I got rejected, it got lumped in with all the rejections I've ever had. But I will say, not to the degree that it has. Not certainly not to the degree of my divorce. I did not get that bitter and angry. Now it could be that the connection was short lived. That's possible. It could be I'm also a lot fucking better at processing things, because it took me a long time. And again, obviously the dynamics are different, but it took me a long time not to say that I don't hate my ex-wife, and I don't. I don't hate her. I don't wish her any ill will. And same goes for Dallas. I wish her no ill will. But I think what occurred, knowing her story a little bit, knowing, and so this is what I did. I asked a lot of questions. I watched some YouTube videos. I'm like, what happened? How do I process this? What file can I put this in? Everything is about a fucking story. You know, narrative therapy. It's the story. It's what, and the story I developed over this situation, it may not be 100% true, but it makes sense to me, and it makes it so that I can file it away and move on. Am I still sad? A little bit. Yeah. Do I miss her? Yeah, a little bit. She is a good one. I also think she also was living in her wounds, and that's okay. We all do. And so what I think happened is, knowing her story, knowing what she had, so essentially she had just gone through a breakup of some sorts. I didn't know the details because I didn't ask, because I didn't fucking care. I just knew she was available, and that's all that really interested me. Not only that she was available, but that moving was on the table. Not immediately. It wasn't anything asinine, but it was like, yeah, it is possible, which is okay. Great, let's move forward. But I think, yeah, and I don't think, I'm not taking anything back that I said it in that last episode in terms of, do I think she used me? I do. Do I think it was intentional? I do not. Because she is a good person. I don't think she did it intentionally. But you know what happens when you're going through a breakup? I was guilty of this shit. And someone shows you attention and comfort and appreciation and admiration, all these things. Yeah, of course you're gonna eat that up. I would have thought, and this is why I didn't suspect that she was using you, because I thought, and this isn't knocking her, this is just reality. I thought she was going to be much more emotionally intelligent, or at least, I don't know if that's exactly right, but at least aware. And that, so if she is really very aware, then she wouldn't do that. But I think she just got caught up. I think she was upset and sad about this thing ending with this other dude, and I think I provided some comfort. Um, do I think that that was right of her? I think she's human, and we all fuck up. And I am positive I probably did the same, sadly. And I know that I did. So it can't really, I mean, it can, again, back to, you know, can I blame her? She's a human. Do I think she fucked up? Yeah, I do. But I think, again, I want to get back to why. Okay. So because I know a little bit, and I think I've said this like 3 times now, because I do know a little bit about her story. I know what she's been through. And I think she has spent the last, I don't know how many, 5 years or so, trying to get over the dissolution of her marriage, where she was with a serial cheater and sex addict. Um, and then she was with someone who essentially wanted to see her chained up in the kitchen, for lack of a better description. Like, just as far as I could tell, no interest in allowing her to sort of be her own person, spread her wings, do those kinds of things, whatever, and not in a, she wanted to be a stripper. she wanted to, she wanted to have her own career. Um, and so going through that was, you know, traumatizing in some ways. And then this other thing ended because I think she thought this person was someone that they weren't. And so I think she's been through some significant traumatic stuff. And but I also think that when you look at a person who has had numerous bad relationships, and yes, you can put some blame on them, but I think if you remember the narcissism episode, it wasn't way back when, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so. She talked about it. I sort of asked her, she was someone who was in a narcissist. It was a journalist. She was someone who was in a narcissistic relationship. And I was like, why not just get out of it? And she said, well, because it was so familiar, it seemed right and normal because she was raised by a narcissist. And again, knowing Dallas's story, I'm fairly certain it was not a healthy environment. So therefore, she got used to not feeling supported and taken care of or loved or whatever. And I can completely relate to that because of my own childhood. And so then I think I come along and let's be fucking clear here. I'm the fucking prize. Like, let's just briefly rabbit hole Michael Rhodes. I served my country honorably. I have a bachelor's degree in business management. I have a master's degree in business administration. I have a really good job / really good career. I'm a great fucking father. I'm attentive. I make mistakes. Don't get me wrong, but I'm involved. I pay attention. I take them to things constantly. I'm doing things with them. I'm trying to teach them and be there for them. I'm a great fucking father. And not for nothing, I got this fucking podcast that I know has helped numerous people. So I'm a fucking prize. Let's be clear about that. And so I came along, someone who understands attachment styles and love languages. Not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Fuck. The good thing about Michael Rhodes is, and yes, I'm talking about myself in the third person, is that I know that I'm not perfect, but I want to be, or not perfect, but I want to be good. And I have that desire to keep improving. That's I have she even said this, you have a tenacity, I think was her statement. Yeah, I do. And so I came along and I provided support and I know there's going to be guys out there like, yeah, you fucking you sort of like worshipped her, bowed down to her or whatever. No, go fuck yourself. I gave her things that she needed because of all the shit she's been through. And I knew she was a words of affirmation, so I fucking laid those words of affirmation on because I also am. And that's why I think God would have been good because we lined up in a lot of ways. And also that's also why there was such a connection. Because I'm a words of affirmation person, I know how much I mean, I sometimes struggle with receiving them, but I know ultimately that I want them. And so I love to give them. And she loved to receive them. right? So I was giving that. I understood the push pull dynamic of attachment styles. I wish I would have dove in a little bit more into her attachment style and understood it a little more, because ultimately I think what happened is I came along with all these good, great things, but they were so almost counterintuitive to how she had been treated and been raised that it repelled her. It made her go to an avoidant attachment style. And she may be avoidant anyway in general. Again, I can relate. But what I was really hoping for, and what I really hope for in general, is someone to be, and I want to do this too. Instead of her saying, I can't do anything emotional right now, it would have been nice if she said, I'm feeling very avoidant due to my attachment style and I need some time and space. Okay. Totally understand that. And I hope that someday I do the same, and that I have a relationship where I'm able to have this sort of clear, open and honest and transparent thing where it's like, I'm not feeling it today, or I'm feeling super anxious. Like I have this, I don't like that you talk to this guy at work or whatever. Right. And assuage those fears and not live in our fucking wounds, because that's exactly what happened. I think, and I could be wrong. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that, unfortunately, how I behaved and how I presented myself was so the opposite of what she was used to that it scared the shit out of her, and that's why she decided to end it. And yeah, there was, obstacles. She lives very far, but I love that challenge. I was like, okay, let's fucking figure this one out, because you could. It's possible. It's If you want it bad enough, it's doable. And I did, or at least I wanted to keep going. I mean, wasn't like, let's go look for houses tomorrow. I'm not fucking delusional, but I was so psyched to be on a journey with someone that I connected with, and unfortunately, she wasn't ready. Now, this is the narrative. This is the story I have concocted. It makes sense to me. It has a relational home. I can file it, and here's the thing. Here's the awesome thing. I don't put blame on myself, and even cooler, I don't put blame on her. She's a human and she has an avoidant attachment style, I think, at least in this instance for sure. But I did the research I was doing. I don't think avoidant attachments pop up. She's probably what do they call it? I forget where it's both. I'm not kind of the same way, or I'm not kind of. I am the same way. Um, Disorganized attachment. I've been gifted with both, avoidant and anxious. So, I think I suspect she's the same, but I don't know 100% sure. But it sucks, and I think it would have been good, and when I'm able to find a relational home for it, a story that makes sense to me, then it allows me to not be bitter and angry at her. It allows me to humanize her and see her as she is, a human who makes mistakes and who has her own issues, as we all do. It makes me understand myself a little. I thank her for teaching me some things and giving me the opportunity to really be able to deal with hurt and rejection in a way that doesn't make me an asshole. Now, it was a little bit, if I'm being honest, that was a little bit, at least in terms of the podcast, there was some harshness in there. But I was hurting, what is that saying? Hurt people hurt people. And I did. And I don't ever want anything to control me other than me. A long time ago, my father, when he would talk about drugs, and I saw my dad smoke pot and stuff, but as I got older, he would, one of the things he said is, anytime you do a drug, you take a chance of that drug controlling you. And that always really kind of hit me. Now, truth be told, I did a lot of drugs, so it didn't deter me, but it did sit with me in a way that I can remember it now, however many years later, 30 some odd years later. And so, whether it be a drug or anger or another person, I don't want anyone to control me. I don't want anyone to be able to dictate how I'm feeling. Now, it does happen, and clearly it happened with her, but I was able to process and come to a place where I was once again in control, and I was able to see things in a logical thinking brain kind of way, not in fight or flight, not in fuck her and fuck all women. I refuse to be that way. I will not fucking be that way. So I took the opportunity to create this narrative that makes sense to me. And it makes me feel really fucking awesome, if I'm being honest. Am I sad because it ended with her? Yes. Am I a little disappointed in myself and how I handled it? A little bit, but only a very little bit. Because while she has her wounds and her things that prevented her from moving forward, I have my shit too. And it came to the surface a little bit because of what happened. But I have handled things much worse than that in the past. I'm going to wrap up with, and as I said, this is all me. This one is, besides the stats and stuff, this is my story. This is my shit. I was struggling a few weeks ago with like, why is beauty so important to me? You know what? Who gives a fuck? Whatever your thing is, and mine is beautiful. Who gives a shit? If I was saying I need a beautiful woman to make me happy, then that's a problem. I don't need that. I'm pretty good. If I'm going to be in a relationship, do I want the woman to be beautiful? Yeah. Do we want to be with trolls? Is that a thing? Like, hey, this is my new girlfriend. She's really ugly. Check her out. Like, nobody says that. Nobody does that. So who gives a fuck? And by the way, again, I say again a lot sometimes. Sorry about that. I came to this conclusion on my own that after processing, thinking, who gives a fuck? Is that preventing me from connecting? Do I want to connect with people I'm not attracted to? Is that what I'm saying? No, fuck that. I like beautiful women. I'm not sure that I don't see the problem. I think sometimes I try to find problems in myself to fulfill the narrative that my parents gave me, that I was a shitty kid, shitty person. I'm not playing that game anymore. Fuck that. I like what I like, and it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Only what I think. And I've come to the conclusion that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I still have hope that someday I'll find that beautiful woman who is able to have the type of relationship that I'm seeking, which is one that is open and honest and transparent. And I'll find it. I will. I don't know when. It might not be anytime soon. It might not be until my kids are grown and out of the house, which is another 10 years. I don't know. I don't know when it will be, but I know that I'll continue to build the life that I want for myself in the meantime. And when that person comes along, they're going to have a hell of a life to join. Because again, and I said again, I'm the fucking prize here. And if you don't think that about yourself, the best way to do that, as far as I can tell, is go get some shit done. Go do some stuff. Go accomplish things. Go take classes. Get degrees or certificates or whatever. Just go do some shit, because all that stuff that I mentioned before, nobody can take it from me. Nobody. And so I have ample evidence that I'm the fucking prize. And I encourage you to go out there and do the same. That's all I got for this one. Thank you again for everything. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Since my separation in July of 2019, I have done an incredible amount of work on myself. I've had many different therapists, life coaches, and went through different programs. I've taken all that I've learned and put it into my own program called Forged by Fire. If you are interested in having me help you navigate your divorce, please hit my website, risingphoenixdivorcecoach.com. I look forward to working with you.